Good day, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on the topic of integrating DAM and digital collection software for museum excellence. I trust that you will find the topic and knowledge shared in this webinar very insightful, and that, of course, you will use the opportunity to interact with our speakers by asking any questions throughout the webinar. And our speakers will gladly, of course, answer them and respond to them at the reserved Q&A section at the end of this webinar. I am Magdalena, and my role is to moderate this webinar today, as well as to introduce WoodWing and Concord. And I'm really happy to be here with a great combination of speakers. Namely, we welcome ladies first, Hilde Hagen. She is a process consultant at Concord, and Concord is a WoodWing partner that helps the cultural sector, but as well as brands and publishers to orchestrate their content and, of course, improve their content creation workflows and publishing processes. We have Rob Jacobs. He's the director of Axial for the Benelux region, and Bram Boerboom, who is the application manager at the Dutch Open Air Museum, or in Dutch, the Nederlands Openluchtmuseum, which is our customer, joint customer, that uses the two solutions, WoodWing Assets and Axial's collection management product. Axial is a specialist software company with a long history of service to the library, museum, and archive sector with their Axial collection software suite. To begin, let's cover some general housekeeping and run through the agenda. All attendees are currently on mute, and that's the way everybody will stay, but you have the option to use the question box on the right side panel of Webinar Geek to ask any question that you might have throughout the webinar. We have spared a few minutes, apologies, in the end, and to try to answer all of your questions. The agenda is as follows. I will provide an introduction. Then we have Rob Jacobs from Axial talking about the need to connect the DAM in the museum technology ecosystem and speak more about Axial. And then we will have Bram Boerboom, our customer speaker, that will showcase the use case of the Dutch Open Air Museum alongside Hilde Hagen, the workflow consultant from Concord, that also will summarize the session after the use case with what is the business value of having this integration in your organization. In the end, again, mentioning the Q&A part. So I would like to briefly do an introduction about WoodWing. WoodWing is a long-standing software vendor, and we work with a lot of the cultural sector, a lot of brands and publishers, and enable them to really have an efficient way to manage their digital assets with digital asset management solutions, and of course, publishing workflow solutions for their publishing purposes. So we help you take charge of your content so you can collaborate seamlessly and unlock your team's full potential. We have more than 5,000 customers around the world, more than 200 employees, a big team worldwide. We have more than 60 partners worldwide supporting us in integrating and implementing our solutions with other third-party vendors and, of course, custom-made solutions within per use case, of course. And we have a wide network of partners, I said, and of course, more than 90,000 users use our WoodWing solutions daily. About Concord, which is our partner, a long-standing partner. Previously, the name Concord emerged as a merger from two of our partners, Graphite and Publicare. They've been dealing since the end of the 80s with helping the brands and cultural sector and publishers manage their content and, of course, reach an effective and efficient content orchestration. They provide consultancy and implementation services to a lot of the brands and publishers, as I mentioned earlier. In short, the solution that you are going to see during the part of this webinar is WoodWing Assets, which is a scalable digital asset management system that is highly customizable, and it's fit for any type or size of organization. And it's very easy to integrate it because it has and offers multiple integration options alongside an open API. And as I mentioned, one of our differentiators is that we have a wide partner network to support us in more than 60 countries worldwide, especially catering to the specific needs of the market and for the specific needs per use case of a customer. Before we start with our first speaker, Rob, I would like to briefly ask everybody to engage in a brief poll that we have prepared. Namely, we would like to find out if you're already familiar with any of the solutions we're going to mention during this webinar. You will see it on the right side panel of the Webinar Geek application. And I will, of course, give you a couple of minutes to answer that question. The question is as follows. Are you familiar with WoodWing Assets and Axial? And do you use these solutions in your organization? I'm looking forward to your feedback and your answers so we get an understanding of our audience better. Thank you.
So good afternoon, everybody. My name is, as already mentioned, is Rob Jacobs. I'm responsible for Axial and music industry, primarily in the Benelux market, but also with customers in Spain, especially for film institutions. Nowadays, I'm not sure who's online, but a lot of customers that are using the Utlip software, we are in a migration process of migrating Utlip towards Axial Collections, which is a fully hosted cloud solution, SaaS solution. And more today, we see that images of artifacts, images of your collection becomes more and more important. Let's say in the old days, where I would say that images and Utlip are a mix of, but primarily focused on storage solutions. We were able to store the image and that you could sort of reuse the image in your Utlip environment. But more and more, by using Axial Collections, you would like to use your images not only for your collection management solution itself, but also for exhibitions, for instance, or putting some content online. That's also a solution to work with. So the difference between a DAM solution and really a storage solution, so that's a big difference because only storage is nice to have it in folders, but you're not able to maneuver with those content elements. That's why we looked for a local partner which we could work with in our local industry. Because I known Publicare and Graphit already for many years, and I was very happy that the merger was established in 2021. So we found a partner for the integration between Axial Collections and our DAM solution. That makes it for our customers more intuitive to work with. On the one hand side, the collection management solution, but then on the other side, the option, the possibility to work with the DAM environment. And the nice part is in this collaboration is that we are not only working with the bigger WoodWing asset solution, but we also have the opportunity to work with small customers that still have assets, but they're not looking for a storage solution by itself, but they're looking for something a little bit more. And so that's why it's a nice fit that we can support the small customers with limited budgets and limited digital asset management requirements, but also the bigger ones. So that's really nice. And on the other hand, perhaps if there are many Dutch customers online, we also know that the NDE compliant working is very much popular nowadays to make sure that you are NDE compliant. One of the elements within the NDE compliance structure is becoming IIIF ready, so that you can also use those images with zoom functionalities and even use annotations to make it more interactive and to really play with your original assets. So that combination for Axial was very important to work with our own collection management system, but not try to develop something ourselves, but make sure that we have a real solid partner, and which we found in Concord, to be able to use the WoodWing Asset solution. And so I'm happy to be able to sort of give you a brief overview, and I'm glad to hand over to Bram.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to present the use case. My name is Bram Boerboom. I work for the Nederlands Openluchtmuseum, or Dutch Open Air Museum. We're an open air museum located in Arnhem, in the east of the Netherlands. We are focused on the history of everyday life through about 100 relocated historic buildings in our park, and over 150,000 historic artifacts. And we also have collected about 700,000 digital assets right now, all stored within assets. As for the challenges we faced before implementing assets. Before we had assets, the Openluchtmuseum would have to create, save and manage multiple copies of the same image. So we would have a primary copy of an image in the highest resolution available, typically in a lossless TIFF or RAW file format, and specifically for Adlib, or axial collections soon. We had to create a thumbnail or a smaller sized image file, so it could be shown within the Adlib GUI. Also, storage media was way more expensive back then. We're talking about almost 7 years ago now. And our large image files were usually saved in a special Blu-ray jukebox system, which could hold a lot of data, but was relatively slow as compared to regular HDD storage space. And it also meant that the files were managed separately, not within the same directory or even on the same server as the thumbnails for Adlib. We also had to manage files in a traditional directory. So that would involve a lot of manual labor, including navigating directories, creating folders, naming and storing files, copying files, etc. And if we had to retrieve the files for publication or something like that, that would also be very labor intensive. Files could get lost because they weren't linked to Adlib. They weren't managed at all. Linking images. So if we created new assets, we had to link every new image to the corresponding record in Adlib manually, which would involve opening the object record, using the file pick to open the file, or copying the file path. And clever file naming schemes and automated processes within Adlib could have sped this up. But this does require a lot of extra knowledge that we didn't have back then. Also, the metadata available within the high-resolution image files would not be readable within Adlib because the high-resolution images weren't linked at all. So, best case scenario, it was copied to the thumbnail, but usually it was missing. And also the marketing and brand assets. Well, there wasn't something I was responsible for back then, but the market definitely needed a proper digital asset management system to tackle this challenge. So I'm now handing it over to Hilde for our approach to tackle the challenge.
Good afternoon. My name is Hilde, and I would like to talk about how we tackle the challenges. We've drawn up a new digital architecture by joint efforts with stakeholders of the business, the ICT department, key users, and consultants from Axiel and Concord. There were 2 teams. One team which focused on the implementation of the collection-orientated imagery, and the other team focused on the branding and marketing assets. The team focused on the collection imagery set itself the goal to be able to include images within the DAM system with as little effort as possible, but with automatically linking the images to the objects. And they would like to have enough valued metadata so the images could be found within DAM and AdLib and could support the processes which were needed for assets. In addition, information had to remain up to date in both systems, in AdLib and in DAM. The marketing team focused on the brand and marketing related assets. They need to manage a broader range of assets like imagery, but also audio, video, and all kinds of creative, mostly stored as PDF files. And their main topic was how to include different kinds of metadata, like information data which will be used to find the assets, but also descriptive information and information how created the files or what the copyrights are related to those files. So their aim was to define an efficient workflow from creating the file until ingesting the file, because it's more efficient to include some metadata during the creation, like who created the file, because the people who are creating the file knows those kinds of information. The team also focused on the consumers, so the consumers of the assets. So they defined which groups will consume the assets and which platforms will consume the assets. And they defined roles, and security was defined through authorization levels. Over here you see the platform that was implemented, and the collection department uploads their object imagery, which structured file names, which also include a unique object ID via hot folders. The marketing department uploads files mostly manually, and they will add missing metadata during the upload process. WoodWing assets will extract metadata from the file, and also the structured file name is used to create metadata. So the file name contains the unique object ID, which establish an automatic connection with the object which lives in AdLib. So information can be exchanged. WoodWing assets will deliver an image URL, including image metadata to the object, and it will retrieve object information and place it in metadata fields. So both systems have a complete set of information which can be used to find assets, but also can be used in their asset-related processes. The architecture also includes a content delivery network, which enables quick transfer of assets that is necessary for loading internet content. So the website is consuming via the content delivery network assets in the presentation layer. Well, I will hand over to Bram. He will show the use case.
Yes, so to have a full demo, I'm going to show a couple of screen dumps to give an impression of the process. As Hilde mentioned, we work with hot folders, so we could have uploaded files through the asset web interface, and some departments within Openluchtmuseum do, but we opted for a system with these hot folders. The hot folders already live in the cloud, so we use a tool called CyberDuck to upload them all at once. Assets will retrieve these files from these folders and ingest them into the actual assets database. This is how the assets web interface looks like. So as mentioned by Hilde, it is also for some departments and for some co-workers. This is their primary interface. And their primary source for all assets, including all assets or buildings and other artifacts. This is when you zoom in within the interface. This is Adlib. It's soon this will be Axial Collections, but we're still running Adlib until next year. This is the record that assets has created within Adlib through the Axial API. Through the magic of image URLs, you can actually see the asset, a smaller copy of the asset within the Adlib GUI as well. And this is the same asset, but now shown next to the metadata of the artifact, of the object. So in this case, one of the buildings on our park. And this is the same object, the same building, published on an online content platform with the same asset and the record that so it contains the metadata from Adlib and the asset from assets. So to summarize, we now have a single source of truth for all our information. So Adlib still has all the artifact metadata, and assets has the images, the assets, and the metadata of the images, and information is synced between the two platforms. As mentioned before, the linking process is improved a lot. We don't have to create multiple copies. Assets will simply ingest one copy of the file, ultimately create links between the asset and the artifact, and write and retrieve image and object metadata. More people within Openluchtmuseum have access to assets and can view and use all approved images now without going through Adlib, which is a little bit more limited in terms of access. Some of the Adlib metadata is also copied to assets to help them with finding and identifying images. Assets also use the copyright info managed within Adlib to determine if an image can be viewed or even downloaded within the assets interface. Also, all images can be published online through the Adlib interface, as mentioned. Okay, now Hilde will tell something about some extra benefits.
So the benefits of adding WoodWing assets was the centralization of assets by using WoodWing assets. There was a seamless chain is implemented between object information and the asset itself. So it's controlled and reliable. There is a higher accessibility to the assets, and we implemented and controlled and automated online publication process. So what is the business value of implementing WoodWing assets combined with Axial collections? By digital transformation, a significant improvement can be established in various aspects of your operation. Processes will be optimized, which will result in more efficiency and less labor-intensive digital asset management processes or linking processes. When you create a high-quality asset management system, which means the asset itself has the right quality, but also the metadata has enough value to support your processes. You can use those files, including metadata, in your communication internally and, of course, externally to a broader audience. The digital asset management system is accessible for a broader internal group, but also for a broader group outside your company. And you could use the digital assets in educational tooling. So by editing a high quality asset management system within your museum, it can add value to your business. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rob and Bram and Hilde, for the nice showcase of the use case and pointing out to the benefits of having Axial and WoodWing assets integrated. We do have quite a lot of questions, so I would like to invite everybody on the stage, including Bram. Yes, thank you, to try to answer. One of the first questions was by Frederick. What kind of metadata will be important? For example, painter, period, place, etc. Who is best to answer this?
I think I can handle it.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now go ahead.
Yeah, because well, there's functional metadata like I mentioned. The copyright info contained within Adlib is very instrumental within assets, especially for access to certain assets. You don't want everyone in the museum who has access to assets also be able to download every image. And we definitely need the metadata contained within Adlib for that. But also, like you mentioned, some fun metadata. So creators, a painter, period, place, whatever people need to find certain assets.
Thank you. I trust, Frederick, that answered your question. Then from Leon, which API is used for metadata exchange with Axial or Adlib? And is the image API IIIF compliant?
We use the API of WoodWing in the Nederlands Openluchtmuseum setup. And we're working on support of IIIF. So that is the status at this moment.
Thank you. From Danny, are there plans to integrate WoodWing assets into the Axial Collections user interface, or is it strictly usable through its own interface or hot folders?
Well, when you use AdLib, you do not need WoodWing assets. It's then the backend system, but because you can find your objects within AdLib or Axial Collections, and the assets which are object related will be related to the object itself. And you will find over there a preview and also metadata. But when you would like to find the branding and the marketing related assets, then you have to go to the WoodWing asset environment.
Thank you. And Danny says, great answer, thank you. Alexander is asking if this presentation can be shared with participants. Yes, we will send the recording after the live session that we're at this moment. We are going to send the recording to everybody that registered for the webinar. We do have another question. How much time did it take to plan the process of integrating the two products?
Well, it's a while ago. I really don't remember exactly. I think a few months.
Yeah, but this was also the first implementation of assets and AdLib together. So yeah, we had to figure out a lot of things for it.
Yeah, and I think right now I did other implementations after the implementation with Nederlands Openluchtmuseum, and I think it will take around 2 until 4 months, but it's a little bit depending on how many files need to be migrated to the environment, and also the availability of the team. So how much effort can the project take on other things which needs to be done within the museum? Yes.
There's also another question from Leon. Could you say something about relation and functionality of the DAM and image server, creating on-the-fly extracts of higher source images?
I don't know exactly what he meant, but what we do right now is the highest resolution is stored within the DAM system. So the highest quality, the quality which can be used in all your channels or a touch point. And a touch point is something that can be touched, like a billboard or something else. And we create renditions, so smaller rendition from the Bricker file. So it's the other way around. That's what we do. So we store the biggest one with all the metadata needed within your process, and then we extract a subset of it which fits the needs of a certain channel or for your usage.
So in short, it is possible to create on-the-fly extracts of the high-res source.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's done within WoodWing assets. Is it possible to include audiovisual material in WoodWing where it is linked to Axial Collections? This is a question from Evelyn.
Yeah, you can store basically any kind of asset within assets. but the preview within Adlib or Axial Collections, as far as I know, is still a bit limited in the sense that you cannot watch videos within Axial Collections. But you can link to the asset in assets and view it there.
Thank you. Another question is, was it difficult for employees of the museum to start using the integrated solution? Is there a learning curve?
Well, we tried. It's a great Assets is a great application, but we tried to actually limit access as much as possible and make sure people who were already using Adlib still only had to use Adlib, so they didn't have to learn a second system for their day-to-day work. So in that sense, it wasn't really hard. We have about 3 employees who can work in Adlib and in Assets for some file management or for uploading images, etc. But we try to limit access to Assets for as much as possible for people already in Adlib.
Okay, thank you. We do have another question. A viewer is asking on the price indication, but I believe it's best because, as he says, it depends on multiple variables. We reach out to him after the webinar and provide him with some more details on the pricing for the both solutions. There are no other new questions at this moment, so I will give one more minute to the people following this webinar. We do get very interesting questions, and I'm sure our speakers are happy to answer any other questions that you might have. But in case you would like to reach out to us, you can always go to woodwing.com or concord.com and just sign up, fill in a general contact form, and we will get back to you after your initial reach out for contact. And of course, as I mentioned already, this recording will be sent out. Oh, yes, there is one more question from Brian. Could you describe the web delivery in a bit more detail? Is there a web CMS involved? Thanks, Brian.
I know until the CDN. So what we do is we deliver renditions via the CDN to the web CMS. It are 3 steps. The first step is that the asset lives in Assets with metadata and also how you can use the asset itself. Then there is a trigger within Axial, which object needs to be published. And when we get a trigger, we will send a rendition to the content delivery network, and the website is consuming the assets via the content delivery network within the I think it's headless CMS, which consumes the assets.
Thank you, Hilde. I trust that answered the question of Brian. And because we're coming to a close to our initially planned timeline of this webinar, I would like to thank everybody involved into this presentation for joining us today, and everybody following us right across the screen. I hope you learned learned more information from this valuable use case, and of course, you're more knowledgeable in terms of how can digital asset management and integrating digital asset management and collections management software can really benefit your organization, museum, cultural or organization from your cultural sector. Thank you again, everybody. I will sign off now, and hopefully until next time, see you soon. Bye, everybody. Thank you.